Okay. Do you ever wonder where all the adults went? Does that ever get to you? Because when you're a kid, there's three groups of people. There's kids, adults, and old people. And then the old people die and the adults become the new old people. But it's like they never make any new adults. You know, they just keep cranking out these kid things. Like, where are all the new adults? Like Larry King, I'm pretty sure that guy was never a child. I think he was born about the age of 65 and only got older from there. Life's like, you know, a family gathering where all the parents go hang out in the other room and then leave you there with your cousins to try to pretend you have anything in common other than genetics. And the whole time you're just waiting for the parents to come back in and take responsibility of the situation. But, you know, growing up is realizing the adults are never coming back in the room and you're stuck entertaining the other kids forever. So at that point you're kind of like, well, shit. So you guys like Legos or what? And here's a sign that your childhood is over is when you realize that what you're doing for fun is just sitting around talking and trying to remember what year something happened. Like, does that not constitute about 20% of the conversations at those get-togethers? It's like, what year was that, 1997? No, it couldn't have been, because Billy was born in 95, and no. Yeah, because the two of them met at that party senior year. I swear, grown-ups' favorite pastime is just recounting memories to each other and arguing over the details. Here's a funny thing about memory. You won't remember the first or the last things you ever do. Think about it. You don't remember being born, and you're not going to remember the last thing you do before you die, because it'll be the last thing you do. Remembering the last thing you do can't be the last thing you do, otherwise the thing you did to remember will only be the second to last thing you do. You see the conundrum. So, no first memory and no last memory. Basically, your life is all the bits in the middle remembering themselves. I figured that out while tripping one night. It was the same night I figured out why drugs are actually illegal. And it's not some conspiracy either. It's not because the man's trying to keep us down. That's just hippie propaganda. Kind of like vinyl sounds better, or white people can pull off dreadlocks too. It's nonsense. You know, drugs are actually illegal because the man got high once, and even though he had a great time, he couldn't figure out how to articulate it to his friends without feeling like a dumbass. So, in spite, he decided the rest of us can't have them either. Because that's one of the things that, one of the biggest impressions tripping has made on me is like, with just a little chemical enhancement, you're able to stride down the darkened corridors of your subconscious, clearing out all the cobwebs. And then the very next day, you're rendered incapable of describing what it was like without sounding like a complete lunatic and freaking out your mom. Like, if there was a commercial for acid, I swear it would be like, hey you want to spend the day sitting in your friend's basement, bouncing between giggling and paranoia while your face vibrates? Yeah, well, if you like getting high, but don't like smelling like a skunk, come on down to Al Hoffman's Acid Emporium. We got the stuff. So strap in, turn on, tune in, drop out, and fuck yourself into the next reality with the Simon and Garfunkel playlist. Your bathroom walls have never looked so interesting. Meld with the universe or your money back. And that's the problem. Like, all that shit may be true, but it doesn't sound nearly as mystical as it feels at the time. Case in point, one time I was tripping with a buddy and had a great time. We had a long, deep conversation, and you know, I learned some backstory on him I was unaware of. And then, at the end of the night, I took out my phone and started writing technique for improving memory, and promptly drew a blank because I had forgotten what I thought the fucking technique was in the first place. Go figure. So I decided I better cut back. And it's not because drugs are bad or because I don't enjoy them, but honestly, I don't want to tarnish their reputation any more than, you know, Charlie Sheen already has. Because here's the thing, I'm kind of a reckless person, and I really don't want to die in some drug-related incident and become one of those shitty anecdotes people use to explain why they became sober. Like, take alcohol, for instance. Like, I'm not a huge drinker, but I really don't like hearing people say stuff like, Brian stopped at the bar for a drink with the guys every night after work. And every night it was okay, until one night it wasn't. Fuck that. I don't want to become some annoying cliche you use to justify your self-imposed boredom. I want to be Doc Holliday from the movie Tombstone, you know? Like, sure, he died, but he made it look way cool and interesting to be a tuberculosis-stricken degenerate. Val Kilmer kicked so much ass in that movie, now I'm trying to figure out how to get a debilitating disease myself and learn Latin. At least that way I can die a cool douchebag. Like, One of the things about drugs is they allow you to enjoy yourself without doing anything at all. And the problem is, it turns out doing nothing sober actually is dog shit. So if I stop getting high, it means I actually got to find things to do. So I think I'm going to start a political movement. I already got the name. It's going to be called the Bowel Movement. The slogan is full of shit and proud of it. The recruiting is a little tough because people don't want to join. It's kind of hard to admit that it might just be the perfect cause for you. But that's the beauty of our platform. We don't discriminate. We think everyone's full of shit, you know? We've all got bad tendencies. Here's one. You ever do this? You ever talking to somebody and they missed something you said, so you repeat yourself, but angrier? Like, you ever seen American Psycho? What? Have you ever seen American Psycho? Jesus, I mean, yeah, I guess I've seen one now. But, like, could you imagine being that unforgiving for other, like, senses? Like, you see a guy walking around, looking all over, patting his pockets, and you go, your keys are right there. You looked over them 3 times, what's wrong with you? Or they're eating a meal you cooked them, and you're like, they go, this is really good. What's that taste? I can't quite put my finger on it. It's nutmeg, you fuck. Like, why do the only thing that we can't forgive as far as honest mistakes is, you heard me wrong, how dare you? And that's why we need the bowel movement, because for far too long have we all been full of shit, you know? Like, this needs to come to an end. We need to pinch off our worst traits. It's time to push out our agenda and wipe the world clean. But then I realized there's already an organization for people who know they're full of shit. It's called Scientology. And there's no way I'm competing with those fuckers. So, I don't know, maybe I'll try to develop an eating disorder instead. And when I say develop one, I don't mean try to get one. I mean invent one and market it. And I think I've got it too. It's going to be called Bulimia Light. And it'll be for people who still like food, so anorexia is not for them, but they also don't like throwing up. Here's how it works. You bring a bucket with you wherever you eat, and then after you're done chewing up the food and enjoying the taste, you spit your food right back into the bucket. Still get to enjoy all your favorite cuisines with none of the calories. Plus, you get to use the contents of the bucket to save yourself money on cat food, so 2 birds with 1 disorder. And better still, you'll free up a lot of time in your calendar from all the friends' dinners you'll no longer be invited to. Just keep on giving. You know, and honestly, why would you waste your time digging your fingers down your throat and getting all gross and clammy in private, when instead you can just gross people out publicly to the same effect? You know, if you time it right at like a Subway, they'll leave the table early, you can get a taste of their food too. Although, I learned from personal experience that's not something you want to do. Like, I didn't do the bucket thing, but I worked at Texas Roadhouse as a busser for a while. And it turns out you really shouldn't eat any of the food that you bring back off people's tables, even if it looks untouched. It took me about 3 or 4 times getting sick to figure that out. Realistically, I kind of had an inkling after about the 2nd sore throat, but those rattlesnake bites are way too tempting. Like I said, I'm kind of a reckless person. Although, honestly, you know, I do have standards. Like, I never ate food off a table where there was a child sitting at it because children are fucking filthy. Like, to me, kids are kind of like giant mosquitoes you're not legally allowed to swat. And just like mosquitoes, it's not their fault that they suck, but they do, and therefore I don't like them. But that's one of the benefits of these glasses, though, is that I think people assume you like kids maybe just a little too much, so they don't bring you anywhere near you. I didn't have to see a child for years, and then about 1.5 years ago, my sister went and had a fucking kid, so I'm learning to cope, you know. It's going to take me a while to hit my stride, though, I think, you know. Give it 16, 17 years. Once he's old enough to start getting into trouble, I'll be a cool uncle then, but because I can teach him to roll his first joint, and he can teach me how to talk to girls. It'll be perfect. I think by the time I'm about 45, I'll be ready to learn. I'm a bit of a late bloomer. Although recently, I did have a sit down with a buddy of mine and his girlfriend, and they sort of counseled me on my girl issues, or lack of girl issues. And they did give me some constructive criticism, you know, like it was pretty helpful. They said it only boiled down to like 2 things. So once I can change my looks and my personality, I think I'll be on easy street. And I'm not saying, like, they weren't calling me ugly necessarily, but I know there's something wrong with my appearance. I mean, I suppose that's what I get for taking fashion cues from Jeffrey Dahmer. But you know, here's the thing. I know that it's not entirely the glasses, because even before that, I'd had discussions with guys about this same sort of thing, and on multiple occasions, dudes would like reassure me by going, "It's all right, dude. Girls aren't even that into looks anyways." I'm like, "Hey, asshole, did you just low-key call me ugly in front of my face?" You'd be like, "Sorry, man," and I'm just like, "It's okay. I'm not that into social intelligence and tact." So that's it from me. I'm Nathan Kuhn, tippy bartender. I'm not the shit. Sorry for fucking out the microphone.